What's the worst part of depression? When you feel like you're making progress to getting better only to realize that nothing's changed. When you can't cherish a sunset, savor your favorite meal, explode with joy over something you've wanted to happen. It's a flatline existence. Just like yay okay that thing's happening. Feeling whatever is the most positive thing you can experience for years. There is no reminiscing the past, being excited for what's next. Constantly being irritated. Knowing how competent and passionate and driven I am, knowing how much good I could do in the world, but I can't even get out of bed. Knowing how much suffering it causes my friends and family to see me unwell. The feeling of not being able to even move her fingers, was the absolute worst for me, the powerlessness, the frustration, the tears. Absolute worst. The lack of motivation to do even the things you know you love. The never-ending cycle of abuse. You have no motivation to get help and you just keep eating yourself alive. Not wanting anyone else to worry about you, so you end up never reaching out for help. One of the worst things is how people dismiss what you're feeling. If you've ever been brave enough to talk about it with anyone and they tell you to snap out of it or tell you to exercise or some bullshit like that, it just makes you feel even more alone. People who have never experienced true depression and have only had situational depression really have no idea how completely consuming it can be. And it's unrelenting. Being depressed. That it actively counteracts everything you need to do to get out of it. The lying depression voice I can't control. Numbness after years of, and then boom. You feel alive again somehow and it is traumatizing and don't know how to deal with your feelings, and want to immediately roll up and forget and go back to your pit of hell. Get up, face your day. We'll all appreciate you. That it's invisible. If I have a broken leg or a scar, people know there's something wrong. But with depression, they have no idea because it doesn't present itself on the surface. People at work look at me and think I'm a well-adjusted, successful person. If only they spent time with me at my apartment, where they'd see someone who is falling apart more and more each day. Therapy doesn't work. Antidepressants, I was on them once. They seemed to be doing the trick. My ex-wife made me dump them out, and coming off of them suddenly was a massive blow. Maybe I should try them again. The guilt. It never goes away. The way you become comfortable with it, such that you almost want to stay there. The way it renders you incapable of showing up in your relationships. Speaking from my own experience with depression. It's kind of taboo to say, but being a good partner or friend while you're depressed is next to impossible. It can get to the point where the only thing you can bring to the table is your depression, and, even though no one will say it out loud, you can get to the point where you're exhausting the people who love you, despite the fact that they truly want to help. When we enter into relationships, we assume the responsibility of meeting the social and emotional needs of the other people involved to some extent, and that's beyond difficult, if not impossible, to do when you can't feel anything but pain and misery. Not being able to care for the people who I want to care about and watching how it affects the people around me, and knowing that once I start feeling things again, the first thing that comes back tends to be guilt. For me it's when I reach a higher level where it doesn't feel as bad, so then I think to myself, oh that was overdramatic, I don't need to waste time with treatment. And then the cycle continues. I had a massive back issue that resulted in a lot of medication leaving me out often at sometimes. My doctor pre-warned me about depression and how it would most likely happen with the drugs and issue. His advice to me was that depression wasn't feeling bad or upset, but the feeling of nothingness. The result of feeling pointless and nothing changes if you're there or not. Was the best advice I got about it. It really helped me out, but that emptiness was horrible. Sitting there in somewhat of a daze not knowing the reason you do anything. Friends helped me out and family as well. Best thing was after surgery having a pat down by him cause I told him I'd stopped using tramadol and didn't need the come down med. Chatting with him not believing THSD the level I was on I could just go cold turkey. Not having the motivation or energy to do anything with my dog. I feel so bad for her because I know she wants to go outside and play, but when I'm having a bad episode, she'll just lay with me all day and night. If I was to finally seek professional help, I would have to go through a fucking shit ton of paperwork and specific doctors to get my insurance to pay for the bills. I'm like, thanks, I'd rather be depressed. Seriously, if I had the energy and willingness to go through with that, I'd probably wouldn't be depressed in the first place. It kills people. For me, the fact that waking up every day is a vicious cycle. I wake up and wonder, why don't I feel any better? What is wrong with me? Which makes me feel worse, and because I feel worse the next day I wake up and repeat. To the point where I feel pretty hopeless. When someone asks how you are, you say you're okay, they reply that's good, when really you're dying inside and can't explain to anyone how you're feeling. Anhedonia. Unable to think of anything or any scenario that you'd find enjoyable. I get depressed from a traumatic car accident a few years back. The hard part about the depression is that it hits you when you are at your highest. You'll have a great day and everything falls into place just right, but oddly when all that is said and done, the memory just arrives and takes you back down again. Being depressed. Sleeping for 10 or 11 hours and still feeling exhausted. The worst part of mine is the feeling of loneliness that just get into everyday life. You don't belong with people, but being alone is worst. You can't be with someone because you're not in a good mental state, but staying single is just making you more lonely. It's just exhausting to be anywhere or with anyone. The feeling that you are exaggerating everything or even faking it for attention. All of it. Ruining the mood of your beloved ones and unintentionally killing their vibe when you're too emotionally drained and just can't put on a mask to match their energy. The cycle of depression is the worst part. When you feel down or depressed, other areas of your life such as work get affected, and that makes the matters worse. The forgetfulness and the feeling of not being yourself. The feeling alone. It's like I'm in the ocean and everyone around me is on a boat. They're all trying desperately to save me and I want to be saved desperately, but it's just me in the water, alone. Nobody can save me. I just have to keep treading water until I get back to the boat, and I have to do it alone. Knowing how it feels to not be depressed and actually having motivation. It keeps me even more depressed. The constant wanting to kill myself over nothing. I have made a commitment to myself about not doing it, but hell, it gets exhausting. The executive dysfunction and how trying to make myself do things is painful and makes me not want to exist. The inability to ask for help and follow through getting help. So getting help. Feeling dead inside. My dog is old, and when he was younger, before the depression set in, I used to have panic attacks thinking that one day he was going to die. Now, I will sometimes look at him and wonder if I would even cry. I can feel the ghost of happiness. Like, I recognize when something should make me feel joy, but I don't feel it inside. Also the not wanting to do anything. There are so many days I don't want to sit, I don't want to stand, I don't want to sleep, I don't want to work, I don't want to lay down, I don't want to talk, I don't want to do something I find fun, I don't want to breathe, I don't want to watch a movie, etc. I don't want to die. I just sometimes wish I had a pause button someone could press and let me just exist in a room somewhere for a few months, then come back and press play. Feeling guilty when you do enjoy something. When you smile, have fun, feel a sliver of happiness. You're not allowed to feel good. You're depressed. Obviously you're not depressed if you can have fun or laugh. Yeah, and how long is this happiness gonna last? There's this little monster in the back of your head yelling at you all the time, wearing you down until you break. But he's the loudest when you get just a glimpse of what's outside the pit. Not being able to eat or sleep or work, and the suicidal ideation. Being fully aware of the fact that the dark, painful, depressed thoughts aren't true, but somehow that still doesn't matter or change anything about how much they hurt. That, or trying to navigate around the limited understanding of the people close to you. It hurts worse not being understood and not being able to explain logically why you are the way you are. There's anger there at them for not just getting it and accepting you with it, but there's also sadness that you're too messed up to really connect with people. Feels like you're wasting their time and someone else in your place would be better for them. You can literally see the bright and shiny parts in your mind, but it just won't realign to them. How to explain it to others who aren't depressed and not wanting to bring their life down because you can't get it together? That it can strike at any point without any warning, sometimes for no apparent good reason. I hate it. The work you have to do to get out of it. The worst part for me is being afraid of doing things I normally enjoy out of fear of associating those things with depression. So not only do I feel and do nothing, but I'm almost afraid to do things as well. Being discriminated and retaliated against for seeking treatment. The invisibility of it. It's easy to see when someone is moping around, not so much when they put on a good face and act as normal.